Hey everybody, welcome to the TraVek podcast. This is our newly launched podcast before the hammer strikes, where we invite guests to come join us at our space here at our showroom. And this can be centered towards the consumer, customer facing, or businesses that are trying to establish and know what they need to know before the hammer strikes. So today we've got a special guest. Joining us is Jeff Fleetham. He's former director of the ROC, and now he's doing some really interesting things with his career. And so, Jeff, thank you for being on the show with us today.
Well, thanks for asking me. I'm really excited about this. This sounds fun.
Yeah, you bet. When we started thinking about what guests to bring on and who might be engaging, we thought immediately, wow, he'd be great to have here. So,
great,
will you
thanks.
Just tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you've done in the past?
Okay. I grew up in the construction business. My family first moved to Arizona in 1959. My dad moved us here when I was in second grade.
Oh, wow.
So, and he was a small general contractor. We did some TI work, but a lot of residential renovations. And I spent some of my first jobs were pulling nails out of 2x4s and straightening them and stacking them into piles of 16 penny nails and 8 penny nails so they could be reused because my labor was cheaper than the nails.
Okay, now just out of curiosity, was that a teaching moment from your father? Was there discipline happening there?
No, that was my job.
Okay.
So that and a few other things. And anything that a machine could do, I got to do by hand. So I dug a lot of footings in Arizona and Caliche with a mattox and a pick and a shovel. So just because a backhoe costs more.
Sure.
So,
you bet.
So my kids were born here. My grandkids were born here. And in the construction business for quite a while. In the mid-'70s, I left the construction business because there was a slump, if anybody remembers that. And I took a temporary job, because a lot of us did that.
Yeah.
And I took a temporary job typing, and it ended up that I got a couple offers with that, and I ended up with a 20-plus career in the consumer products industry, high-level stuff all over the country with customers as small as our treasurer, Kimberly Yee's grandparents used to own a little store called State Market in downtown Phoenix, and where I might write a $200 order, or Circle K corporate headquarters where I might write $1 million order. And I had customers, some of my customers, national headquarters at McDonald's, some startups all over the country, was gone to California, Ohio, Massachusetts, Florida, back to Ohio, and then back to Arizona in 2000 when I went back into business with my little brother.
Wow.
So
you've got a rich heritage here in the area, it sounds
like. I
love
Arizona. Actually, I just sold the house that the family had owned for 63 years. And we used to call it, we used to tease, I went to Arcadia High School, but we lived south of Indian School, so we call it the slums of Arcadia.
Okay.
So, but it was a great home to grow up in, a great neighborhood to grow up in, but it was just me living there, so it was a little bit too big. So
yeah, I can imagine that got a little different than it used to be, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, companies like ours, we do remodeling. We've got a roofing vertical of our business.
Sure.
We tend to want to stay away from people involved with the ROC when in regards to any sort of official capacity. But we love having you here. We love your background with the ROC. How did you get involved in the ROC? What led you to being in a director seat there with them?
Well, in 2006, my father passed away from Alzheimer's.
Okay.
And my brother and I, we kind of reevaluated life. That's the way I look at it. We kind of reevaluated.
Sure.
What were we doing? Are we? What is our career our life, or is our career our work? What's the deal? And during that process, I kind of associated with this. We found that we were going to be brothers longer than partners, and we split apart. I was, I think, 55 then, and I wasn't ready to retire. My brother decided that he kept a license, the fleet construction license, and the family had been licensed since 1959 in Arizona. And he did some small projects around for a while. And I was talking to some guys one day, and he goes, they're looking for inspectors at the Registrar of Contractors. And I thought, pardon me, I thought, what the heck is that? What is that? I had no idea. It was just a place where we sent our check every 2 years
Right.
to make sure our license. So we never had a complaint or anything. And that doesn't mean we never had difficulties with customers.
Sure.
Right?
There's a difference.
But yeah, there's a difference, right?
Yeah.
And so I went down, talked to these guys, and I got this job as an inspector for the registrar. Now we call them investigators. And so I started that process, finding out exactly what they do, reading statutes, finding things like that. I think what I brought to that position, which is a little bit different, is my family had been contractors forever. And then I had this extensive career in consumer products. I know that sounds a little odd, but as far as customer relations and working with high-level buyers and corporate people, which helped me deal with attorneys and a variety of those kind of things. And my market, the area that they assign me is typically zip code oriented. And so I had the Arcadia neighborhood, Paradise Valley, where oftentimes I would go to a job site inspection and there would be 15 cars there. It'd be 12 of them that would be attorneys, one contractor and one homeowner, and then me. So, So I did that for a while. The agency, I started that in January of 2007, and all along I was a member of NFIB, National Federation of Independent Business, so that gave me a little bit of extra insight into some other things. In 2013, I left, and I left the agency because I felt that it was going in the wrong direction.
Okay.
And I came to a point where I told the leadership that I couldn't put my name on a letter anymore, and the comment was that it's not your letter, and I said it's my signature, and this is where this is my home. So I left. I did some consulting, kind of along the way I'm now. I helped a few people navigate some problems with the registrar, and then at one of our NFIB meetings. The executive director at the time would bring in candidates that were running for various offices, whether it be state treasurer. And he brings in this guy, Doug Ducey. So a couple of my friends were talking in the industry, some attorneys that I knew, and we go, well, if he gets elected, he's a small business guy, maybe he can turn around the registrar of contractors and get them back more into being a customer service type agency. I mean, it's a regulatory agency, so there's thing, but serving the citizens of the state of Arizona, which, by the way, includes licensed contractors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Call me kooky. So he gets elected, and I can't remember. It was either an attorney or one of my buddies calls, and he says, "Look, on his website, his transition website, he's looking for a director." And I thought, that's not true. He's already got one. But lo and behold, he had. And so we had a couple conversations with some of these guys, and they said, I said, we got to find somebody, and they looked at me and they said, you. And I thought to myself, that just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
But anyway, they convinced me. I thought about it, prayed about it a little bit, and I threw my name in the hat. And a few weeks later, I get a call from the governor's office, or the governor-elect's office, and to meet them at their transition office and talk to a couple of young guys there that are still around. They're good young men, and that were with the governor. And then a few weeks after that, I get a call from Kirk Adams, who was the governor's chief of staff, calls me up and offered me the job.
Wow.
and I know my little brother and I were talking. He said, "Man, I wish Mom and Dad were alive right now."
Yeah.
I get a little verklempt when I think about that, but that would have been really cool. They had adopted. I was born in the Salvation Army Hospital in Washington in 1951, and they adopted me. Okay. They saved my life. Is the way I look at it.
Wow.
And they were awesome people. Though my dad did torture me in construction, but it's the industry itself is one that gave me a foundation. Not only in how to treat people, but a work ethic that I don't know if I could have gotten anyplace else personally.
Yeah.
So
I think it's unique, right? You look at those that have been in the industry for a while, and you look at that work ethic comparatively to other industries, and that's not to say that every industry doesn't have certain people in it that have great work ethic, but I love this story that you just told. Like, it's so interesting to me to think that you started there at the ROC. There were some things that rubbed you the wrong way, and you decided, what, from an internal perspective, I need to step away. And then full circle comes back around, and now you're the director. You were the director of the ROC, and really putting you in a position to be able to affect some change, probably.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it did.
That's awesome. What a cool story. And I bet your parents are probably looking down from that perspective, and they're celebrating your accomplishments.
I would like to think so.
Yeah. So I'm curious. We hold these seminars every month.
Sure.
Where we invite the community in, and they ask us questions, and we kind of outline what it is that they need to know before walking into a remodel project.
Right.
One of the things that we bring up in that presentation is when you're selecting a contractor, you're looking at who you want to do the job, make sure that they don't have a lot of marks from the ROC, or they haven't gone through this process where they've been slapped on the wrist a bunch of times by the ROC. Can you just maybe communicate to our audience and some of our viewers, what is that process like for the homeowner? Like, why would they want to avoid going with the company that continually is going through that process with the ROC?
Well, I'll use it. You certainly wouldn't want to go to the physician who cut the wrong leg off the guy, right?
Okay, that's fair.
So it is typically when it comes into renovation and things like that, which TraVek does a lot of, and a lot of the industry does. For people, aside from buying their home, it's the most expensive, it's the most costly thing that they've done dollar-wise in their life.
Yeah.
And what we find is people are always frantic. They want to get it done really quickly. Anecdotally, what we used to say was over 90% of complaints that come into the Registrar of Contractors is a communication problem. And that communication problem starts at the very beginning when the client and or the contractor have a certain idea or an idea how something's going to go, and they don't meet, right? They don't meet. And some of it has to do with an unrealistic expectation from the homeowner or the client. Some of it is this. People in the construction industry are construction science technology professionals. They're not fat-thumbed, dirty T-shirts, size 4 hat, size 12 boot knuckleheads that came into this industry as a fallback because they couldn't make it through law school.
Right.
So there's that. Secondly, people don't typically allow their contractor to know what their budget is. They don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But another thing that they want to do is you don't want to, if you have a project, and I tell people that even more today than ever before, if you want to have, say, your bathroom remodeled, and it's October 1st, and you've got a big Thanksgiving deal coming up, and you go, it's got to be done by Thanksgiving, and so you call a company like TraVek or any of the other really reputable companies around, they go, well, we can't do that. So you go, oh my goodness, I've got to call the guy that's on Craigslist.
Sure.
Because he says he can start tomorrow.
Yeah.
Ask yourself this. If the industry is really busy, how can someone start my $50,000 bathroom remodel next week? How can they do that? Why can they do that?
Yeah.
And most often, hopefully I'm not going too crazy here.
No,
hopefully people understand that if they can start tomorrow, it's because they have no work, or they're not telling you the story, or they're check collectors.
Sure.
We're going to collect the check and we're going to hold it, and we'll get to it, next year when we want.
Right, and I think it's a great point to bring up, especially for people that are looking at that. Like, one of two things: either they're not qualified to do the job,
right,
or they're just telling you what you want to hear,
right,
and then you're going to get a situation where you're going to have to chase them to get the work done anyway.
Certainly.
Because they're collecting that check. That's interesting. One thing I wanted to kind of rewind on, you touched on budget a little bit.
Sure.
I think that customers can sometimes be scared to communicate their budget with contractors or with companies.
Right.
Yeah. We're a design to build firm.
Sure.
So we've got designers involved through the whole process.
Right.
And we hope that brings the guard down a little bit. But talk me through those instances that you've seen or witnessed where either company was unwilling to have a budget conversation with the homeowner, or homeowner was maybe intimidated to have the conversation with the company. And what does that do?
Well, firstly, if you don't trust the person you're hiring to give them your budget, then don't hire them.
Fair. I agree.
So, but that's my opinion, and that's also my experience.
Sure.
I know I have experience of going into jobs where we had been asked to, provide pricing to somebody, and we'd ask what their budget was, and they would say, we're not going to give you a budget, and we'd go, well, thank you very much. Here's our card. Give us a call. We'll come back and fix it.
Right.
Because if I know that if someone gives me a $200,000 budget, for instance, and I know that seems low in today's world, but somebody gives me a $200,000 budget, and I want to stay in business for a long time, and I put all the requirements together, put everything together with some contingencies together, and my price is going to be $147,500. That's the price I'm giving the customer. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to zip code price them, which goes on a lot. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because I want lifelong customers.
Yeah. I
don't want one-time. One-time customers in any business is very expensive.
Yep.
And so I'm going to give the people a price that is a fair price. I'm going to make a profit because that's my business.
It's business, right?
The customer's going to get what they asked for, and it's going to be in a timely process. So if your listeners are customers thinking about having a remodel job and they don't trust their contractor enough to give them a budget, then don't hire that person.
That's great insight. I love that mentality. I love that insight. Like, it seems like a no-brainer, but I think so often when we talk about money or we talk about budget, there's this weirdness that people create that doesn't necessarily need to be there, right?
They don't do it with their doctor when they're having heart surgery.
That's exactly right. Yep. That's awesome. I appreciate you bringing that up and good insight there. I want to fast forward a little bit because you're no longer the director of the ROC.
Correct.
You're doing some new things, and I'd love to hear about some of the new things that you're doing. So what are you doing now that you've stepped away from that role? What does it look like for Jeff these days?
Well, partly I'm spending more time being a grandpa, which is kind of cool.
Oh, good for you.
So I've got a couple grandsons in the service, one in the Navy, going to school, and one that just finished the Crucible in the Marines,
Wow.
and will be graduating in the 12th of July. So that's pretty exciting.
Good for you.
My other grandson is working. He's been working for a company for really I don't know how long, but he's been working with them and doing a great job. And my youngest granddaughter is got a job, and she's working, and she's got a truck she's trying to fix, and all that is kind of cool. Additionally, I'm part of the NARI board, the National Association of Remodeling Industry Arizona Phoenix chapter. I'm a board member of an organization called Stardust Construction Materials, which is a reusable, restructure, recycle, reuse kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they've been around for a long time. They do great work, a lot of great work. I'm on a couple other trade association members of those. I'm still on the NARI, National Association, NFIB, National Federation of Independent Business. I'm on their leadership pack. Consulting or advising. The consulting thing just doesn't make any sense. I don't like that word. When you retire, you call yourself a consultant, you get a business card, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, but on that note, I mean, you bring with you years and years and years of industry knowledge and history. So
sure.
I don't see that it's so much of a stretch for you to have that business card that says consulting. I mean, you're a great person to be able to consult with. Actually,
it's a solution coordinator dispute resolution.
Oh, wow.
I like that. So, and I've helped some people. I get some calls from my attorney friends or construction friends, and I'll there'll be some sort of dispute or dilemma that somebody's had, and I'll help walk them through that.
Yeah.
and my philosophy is this: when I do this, if somebody has something that they need some help on, whether it's the very beginning, I suggest people before they even start a project to talk to somebody, not necessarily talk to somebody that understands what the process is, and get all that stuff bullet pointed down and follow through. But it might be a contractor to contractor. I've helped some contractors with prime versus subcontractors, homeowners versus their contractor. Navigating some things, like especially when it comes into some HOA stuff, and that the homeowner understands that this is not the contractor's. The contractor can't do this. Your HOA won't let them do this. Those kind of things. So, or the regulatory administrative law process, what that really means. Yeah. And because when you look at most of our, probably just not in construction and everything, is a communication problem. I tell contractors that I work with, if you get the fish look from your customer when you're asking them if they understand, take it upon yourself to review. In some of my presentations, I have, do the checklist. Do you understand this? Do you understand this? Do you understand this? And if you don't understand this, I'll go back to a complaint that we had years ago. Insurance companies, the claim that you file with your insurance company, when your insurance company comes back to you and says $10,000, that doesn't mean that's what the contractor is going to do the work for.
Sure.
That's what the insurance company is going to give you to perform the $15,000 worth of work.
Right.
I caution people to ever sign a contract with a contractor where they have the insurance claim as the contract, because there's always something else that needs to be done. Right. I'm just saying that. So the insurance claim will say, using their software, will say plywood. The contractor puts on OSB, oriented strand board, which has structurally probably stronger than plywood, depending on what kind of plywood you use. But a customer will look at that and go, "Wait a second, that's not plywood," and they'll find a litigious attorney to convince somebody. And even if it doesn't come out, then if they don't prevail in that, it's just a long thing. Plywood, those things, concrete. I had a customer come out screaming at me one day we were pouring a patio. I don't want it to look like that. The concrete's coming out of the truck. I don't want it to look like that. I want it to look like that. And she pointed next door to the people's patio that was done and finished. So those kind of things.
Yeah. So communication is big.
Absolutely, it's primary. Yeah. Through the entire process.
Right. And I would relate to that. Like I think the biggest things that we see in our business as we walk through processes with people, and sometimes we'll take jobs over that are in the middle of the process.
That's always fun, huh?
Nightmares, right?
Yeah, that's always fun.
And what we hear is that same thing. It's communication.
Right.
And so that's great insight as well, just from your experience, the other side of the table, right? We can, as a contractor, as a design to build firm, we can preach from the mountaintops that communication is huge. But hearing it from the side of the table of somebody who's been through those experiences and potential, litigations and customer concerns, it works both ways.
Right. Well, from both sides, as a contractor and as the regulator, which is and listening to both the contractor and the respondent, which is the contractor, and the complainant, which is their customer, and trying to educate both of them on the process.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Well, this has been great today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Anything else you want to share with our audience before we wrap this up? Is there a way for people to contact you? I know you're semi-retired, but you still have this consulting thing going on. So what do you want to tell them?
Well, if somebody thinks that they have, that my services or something might be helpful to them, I'm reachable at Fleetham is my last name, Fleetham, at 1288.com. Or I can be found on LinkedIn. Okay. And that's a good place for people to contact me. They can also see some of my connections there, some of my posts. I'm I'm not hidden, so I'm out there. So
okay.
And I encourage. I don't know if I encourage them to do, but if they think I can be a value add,
Right.
Here's one thing that I have found in dealing in this industry. If you come to me and ask me to help you, and I take a look at it, and I don't think I can help you, I'm gonna say I can't help you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say let's start this, and I'm going to drag
Sure.
this on. Or if during the process, and this will happen, this happens frequently in people that I'm dealing with, I get to a spot where I go, look, you need to get counsel, legal counsel. I'm not legal counsel, not. So if they want to keep me around, I turn off the clock. The billing clock stops. Go talk to your legal counsel. Tell them what's going on. If they think that I should be part of this process, then have them, include me in that process.
Yeah.
But
well, awesome.
so
Well, you guys heard it. He's reachable. Jeff, we have just enjoyed your participation with us so immensely.
Well, thank you.
And we use you as a resource quite often. We've got a good relationship with you, but again, we just thought it would be so valuable for you to be here with us today and share some of the things you've experienced in your history. So,
well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay.
And again, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this podcast and this interaction with Jeff. Join us next time for everything that you need to know before the hammer strikes. Another shameless plug, our seminars happen every month. Our next one's coming up on July 16th here at our showroom. So if you want more insight and you feel like that was valuable, please come join us. Again, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate
Thank
you
you
being here. And thank all of you for listening. Appreciate
Happy
it.
4th.
Happy 4th of July.